Right the way, King Dingbat here, and today is a special day. Not just because the Sixers and James Harden, but because my man, Philly the podcast, the legend, one of the mafiosos of the Philly Shakedown, the creator of the greatest intro. What is going on, man?
That was the best intro ever. What's going on, Philly 500, bro? What's going on, chat? What's going on, Eagles Nation? It feels good to be back on the show, man. I appreciate you inviting me back on. I'm excited, man. I appreciate it. That was a really cool intro. That was the best intro. I think you just took over my spot, so definitely.
Oh, you know it. I mean, you're that was the greatest spot ever. What's going on, everybody? Jadis Young is here. Vic Klops, Shane, Cyclone, me, Rough Taco. Today I wanted to get Philly the podcast on for a while now because if you haven't, click his link. It's in the description. Go sub him up, but check out his videos because some of the stuff that he talks about, I think, is very, very interesting. And the biggest one is the quarterback situation. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts right now as we approach this off season, my man?
I mean, I've been very critical. For those that have not watched my show before, I am very critical of our quarterback. I'm very critical of the whole Eagles team. I want to see a great team, right? I think everybody can agree we want to win another Super Bowl, not one and done, right? So I am critical of Jalen Hurts. So I see all of his faults. I see where he needs to improve. I also see on the other end, I see that this is a weak, quarterback draft. I'll say weak in quotations, because I do think that there's quarterbacks that offer you a good fight against Jalen Hurts. I think that there's some quarterbacks with, arm talent that can definitely get you somewhere, whereas Jalen Hurts obviously lacks there. But that's neither here nor there. But my whole thoughts with Jalen Hurts right now is, if he's the guy you're going to go with, that's fine. Just build the team around him. But at the same time, I am not going to be upset if the Eagles decide to either bring in competition for him through the draft or go ahead and get somebody that they think can change this franchise's fortunes moving forward. So I like Jalen Hurts, and I want to, put that disclaimer out there before anything, because I do like Jalen Hurts. But at the same time, I want to understand, and I want to recognize and be realistic about what he is and what he has been and what he could be. But we'll see what happens. I know a lot of people like him, and I know a lot of people have been enamored with the leader that he is, how he can kind of, conduct himself, especially in his first full year as a starter. I'm not hating on the guy. I just think that we have to be, as fans, understanding that we're in a position with a lot of draft picks, a lot of assets when it comes to players that we wouldn't be hurt from moving on from, that have talent. So you got to be realistic. We might be in the position to get a better situation than Jalen Hurts. So I think that that's an option. And I don't hate the guy, but I know that we could probably get better, maybe through, like I said, draft, free agency, trades, whatever it be. So we'll see what happens.
What would you say you think his ceiling is and his floor?
I'll be 100%. His ceiling will start there, right? Because his ceiling, I don't think anybody can realistically tell you that. I think that his ceiling can be as high as his arm gets him. If he decides to, take this whole offseason and just say, I'm going to be an in the pocket passer, and he can become a top 15 guy when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? If he's one of those guys that you look at that, like, he's not the best at reading the field, but he can get it done, especially when he has a clean pocket, right? You can look at a lot of quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers, Matthew Stafford is a very good guy that you can kind of compare to. When they have clean pockets, they're totally different quarterbacks than when they have to run around and all that. So Jalen Hurts, while he has the athleticism, asking anybody to run around and read a field is hard to do. So if we can just get him to the point that he is solid and I hate to use this word, but trustworthy, that you can just trust him sitting in there in the pocket and making the right decision, whether it be his second or third option. I think his ceiling is endless, because you have that threat of the run. You know what I'm saying? As long as he still can utilize that, I think that your ceiling's endless. He's not a player that we've seen before. So there is that possibility that he takes this offseason and just gets way better at passing the ball
Mm-hmm.
and reading the field.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
we have to be real that those are the things that he needs to improve. So, and those are the two most important things as a quarterback. So I think the ceiling can be endless. The floor is what we saw. I really think that the floor is what we saw, that he's going to be a guy that can make plays, whether it be with his feet, you know what I'm saying, or just kind of throwing up those 50-50 balls and letting his receiver get a chance. So we saw what his floor was. I truly do believe that. I don't think that he had his best season ever. So this is what he could be, but I do think that the ceiling could be endless. You really don't know.
Right. Yeah. New Zealand Philly fan, thank you for the super chat. He says, not getting a top quarterback this year and trading back for another 2023 first for a quarterback is a hopeful, naive approach. We need to lock down the number one position. So, I mean, that's interesting because I don't know what choice you may have if there's nobody to get. You know what I mean? Let me. He said something else here. And New Zealand Philly fan, thank you again for this next super chat. He says also 2 first-round picks in 2023 won't get the number one pick. No, it might not. First of all, you have to know where that first-round pick is, but it's a lot more likely that you can use 2 first-round picks and a first-round pick next year to get 3 first-round picks and move up. If let's say you're trying to get a quarterback, to me. And one things I have said, Joe, is that I think that if you're going to go with Hurts, and if you stay with Hurts this year, you have to get at least 2 first-round picks the following year. You cannot have no draft assets and then find out and say, you know what, Hurts isn't the guy, we can't keep him. I think that's a very dangerous way to approach the draft, is to take 3 first-round picks. You're basically believing in him. Otherwise,
yeah, and you even look into that deeper. You look into the guys that are out there. Like Russell Wilson is a great talent, right? But you look at what he was able to do with, or what he wasn't able to do with, a way better wide receiving core. Their offensive line obviously doesn't really compare to ours. Their defense was probably just as bad as they were worse, statistically, but it wasn't by much. Once you get in the bottom 15 of defenses, those numbers become kind of by 1, 2, 3, 10 yards at the most. So it's not by a much, right? And so we both had terrible defenses. So I say that to say this, I don't see a quarterback out there or even a player out there that you add to this team and they become an instant Super Bowl threat. And if you're giving up 2, 3 first round picks for a guy, that's what you should be looking to get back. I mean, that's kind of the reason you do things like that. So I don't see Russell Wilson doing it. I don't see Deshaun Watson doing it. I don't see Jimmy Garoppolo. Definitely is not going to bring us to a Super Bowl. We have to understand, if we're giving up the farm, then we have to do that. We have to get to the Super Bowl, because that changes up the way that your money's structured. That changes up, obviously, the assets and the way that your team is structured, right? Because you go from having 11 young, possibly we'll say anywhere from 8 to 11, given that we know Howie's probably going to move a couple of those picks, but you're going to be able to get a young core of players on cheap contracts. If you go ahead and give all those picks to a guy like a Russell Wilson, now you have to look at how these contracts are going to work out, not for just this year, but the years moving on. And if you don't win the Super Bowl, then what was it for? Right? There's way more that could go wrong by giving everything up than can go right by giving it. We're not in the situation that the Rams were. You know what I'm saying? The Rams literally just left the Super Bowl and wanted to get there again.
Interesting.
We're not them.
This is going to be fun because I've heard that a lot. I've heard that you're not close enough that you want to just get that quarterback to put you over. But I really believe, and this is my opinion, that if you added Russell Wilson, he's the game changer. And the reason I say is I view Russell Wilson as a guy who I believe is still a top 5 type quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years, especially if he had the offensive line the Eagles had. So I wouldn't go. I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr or anybody else like that, right? But if you told me right now Russell Wilson is available, I would make a play for him. I would make a play for him.
I would not be mad. I don't want to sit here and act like I would be mad that we added a Russell Wilson to this team. It's just at that 3 first round picks and possibly
No, not
plus
3. No,
price
that's
tag.
too much.
That's my issue.
Yeah,
You tell
right.
me we gave up the number 15 pick, right? I think that's our first one, right? You give up the 15th pick and you give up our first round next year. And maybe like a third, and plus maybe a Andre Dillard or something like that, or maybe a Jalen Hurts instead of an Andre Dillard. I'm probably coming on this show saying this could get interesting because you still have 10 picks. You still got 2 picks in the first round this year. You could possibly move back and go get a first round pick next year, and no one else will recoup that first round pick somehow, some way. We always do. So, it's the price point. It's not the player. It's really the price point and what he would be. We don't know if Russell Wilson's going to be good for 2-3 years. We don't know if he'll be good for 5-6 years. We don't know if he'll be good for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know once you pass that 30. Yeah, it's a big risk.
No, so it's a total risk. I don't know.
It's tough.
It's a total risk, but I look at it like there's probably 2 guys that I would consider it for. Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. If Watson cleared off his stuff, I just feel like that it's so hard to have a Russell Wilson come around, and especially when you have that offensive line. See, I don't think a guy like Russell Wilson, you need to have every hole filled. I think that his play will mask deficiencies in other places. You still got to make some right moves. But we saw a team in Cincinnati go from 4-12 to going to the Super Bowl. So if you make a few right moves, it is quite possible. He's the only guy. Like there's none of these other guys appeal to me at all. I would rather just keep Jalen Hurts. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely. And then as far as the quarterbacks in the draft, I like Malik Willis, but I don't want any of them in the first round. Huh?
I was just about to bring him up because I do a lot of these mock drafts, right? So I keep doing these mock drafts, and the things with these mock drafts is you see one of these quarterbacks fall to the second. Would you take a risk at the second to bring in some competition for Jalen Hurts? That's cheap competition.
Maybe in the second. Definitely not in the first, though. See, here's what I'm going to do, right? If it's me, I'm going to take the 15th pick, and I'm going to take a second-round pick, and I'm going up in the top 10. I'm going to go up in the top 10, and I'm going to, as far as I can get, and I may throw in other picks, and I'm going to try to get either a Jabo or a Thibodeau. I'm going to make a play for one of those 2 guys. And then I'm going to take my 19th pick, and I'm going to trade back and try to get a first the following year and maybe a second. So maybe I get a second, maybe I get a third. I don't know. But I think the Eagles got to get up in that top 10, man. I think they have to.
It might not be that expensive. It really might. I don't want to say that expensive. That's probably a bad quote. But, it might not be comparatively. Like, I know a lot of people look back and look at what people did to move up for a quarterback. You're probably not moving up for a quarterback this year. If you're moving up, it's probably because you got a good deal. Because at this point, there's really nobody. There are those top guys, right? You got your Thibodeaus, you got your maybe even Derek Stingley is rising back up people's boards. So I would love to see him go top 5. But you got those guys that are, Aiden Hutchinson, the Evan Neals. Like you got those guys that are definite top 5s that you wouldn't be mad at picking. But I don't think that there's anybody in this draft that you're like, I have to have this guy. Like he's out of this world talent. So I think, but I do on the reverse side of that, I do think that there's a lot of guys that are like, this guy could probably either start day 1 or is going to be a heck of a project. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of talent on this team. So I mean, not on this team, in this draft. So my thing with it is like, I don't mind getting a guy like a Russell Wilson, but you got to be this I think is the best way of saying it. I know that quarterback was probably our biggest deficiency when it comes to our team last year, if we're being 100% honest. Like when it came down to actually throwing the ball, we weren't the best team. We were far from the best team. But when it comes down to it, he wasn't the only deficiency. I think that this defense was very bad, and it's getting very old. So, it's just that balance to me. I don't want to give up too much because we still have to. We have to get young. That's my biggest.
My limit for I would tap out Russell Wilson. It would be 2 1s and maybe like a mid-round pick or a player. If I can't get it done for that, I wouldn't do it.
Definitely.
But I would try, man. I would try, and that's not a slight on Hurts. I like Hurts, but I just think Russell Wilson's special. I would try. What the hell? And that's not a sorry, my phone's acting weird. It just decided to start playing. Prince, thank you for super chat. Says next year's quarterbacks from Alabama and Ohio State are come out, but if we get an extra one next year, gives us more wiggle room at other positions if needed. Absolutely does. It absolutely does. And quarterbacks tend to rise, right? There's always quarterbacks that you're going to be talking about. The one thing I will agree with you is I don't think it's going to cost as much to get up in the top 10. Actually, I think it's going to be a bargain to get in the top 10 because I don't think quarterbacks are going to be going. You've already seen two teams that reportedly want to move out of the top 10, the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers. So I think it would be hilarious if the Giants were sitting there and we jumped them for like Thibodeau and screwed them awesome. 2 years in a row. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
That would be awesome. My biggest thing is like I don't know if because if you look at like Detroit, right? Detroit is a team that they very may well go with a quarterback at their pick. That really realistically might happen. They might just go ahead and get a quarterback. I doubt it, but it might happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do move back, it's going to be because they want to be a team like us, where you have multiple picks in this draft. So I honestly would love to get back in the second round. You're sitting there with 3/5, right? You're sitting there with 3 5th-round picks. You obviously have your third, you have your fourth, but you have so much ammo. Why not get back in the top 100, right? Top, 60, 70 maybe in that range and get you some more talent. There's a lot of good players in this draft, whether it's linebacker, cornerback, even there's some good offensive linemen that might, still be there in the second round. So even more so, like, while I wouldn't be mad if we moved into the top 10 and were able to get us a game changer. I wouldn't be mad if you went ahead and just like try to mortgage some more stuff to get into that second round because I think you're going to get some diamonds in the rough there. I really do. Like, I really like this draft. 500. I really do.
Here's the problem. Here's my. You're right about everything, but here's my one issue. Who's the guy evaluating the talent? Do you trust Howie Roseman to pick the 35th pick, the 37th pick? I feel like he's got a less of a chance to mess up the 7th pick than the 15th pick. Do you know what I'm saying? Surprised. That's always my thing.
We'd be surprised.
Yeah, I would be nice.
But also my thing is that if we get in the top 10, even at that 15th pick, I don't think it's off the chart. We're probably going to go offense or defensive line. So I know you like Hutchinson. You like you were saying Thibodeau. If one of those guys dropped out of the top 8, maybe we go up because I like George Karlaftis a lot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So maybe he somehow supersedes them. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people don't like him and think he's like overhyped or they're falling in love with Jermaine Johnson's production, which is very warranted. Don't get me wrong. But George Karlaftis, he's just a technician, right? Like, he's. Who would you rather have? Who would you rather have? The guy that's gonna. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you the guy I want. David Ojabo. That is my guy.
He's good.
Because to me, I think he's raw and he's got to develop. But his first step, the fact that he strips the ball, he just reminds me of Jason Pierre-Paul. He reminds me of a young Jason. That's the guy I really want.
That's a good comparison, actually. That's a really good comparison because he's very raw too. I think this is like his 4th year playing football in general. So he's raw, man. He's athletic. He's gonna run in like the 4.4s I've heard, which is insane.
We're gonna get in the combine in a second. It's our time. Philly says, "Hey, 500. Let me know if I did anything wrong because I never disrespected you or any other Eagles fans." No, you didn't do anything wrong. I reset the wrenches. Because I had somebody timing everybody out and deleting comments. And when you go into the mod section, Joe Castro, no, it's almost impossible to go through every one of those and figure out what's what. So I just reset it. I gave it to you back though. So don't worry about it. I do think though, in terms of the draft, I mean, it sounds like I think most Eagle fans are expecting the Eagles to go defensive line, especially defensive end in this draft. I mean, I think with the first pick, they're definitely going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely should. If you look at this, so I like Jermaine Johnson. Don't get me wrong. I like George Karlaftis a lot.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's a technician. And there's so many good edge rushers. Like you go even
No.
deeper into the draft, like going into probably day 3, you're gonna
Mhm.
get some starters at that edge rushing position. You think of like a guy like a Boya Mafe that might fall down to that spot. A couple interior defensive linemen that might fall down into the 3rd round that are dogs. You know what I'm saying? A guy that I love is Travis Jones from UConn. Just he's kind of like, everybody loves Jordan Davis, right? He's kind of Jordan Davis light. Like he's a little bit smaller but faster, probably realistically, because he's obviously a little bit smaller, a little bit more athletic, but he's basically like a Jordan Davis. He's going to clog up
Mhm.
that middle. Gives you probably a little bit more as a pass rusher. Played at UConn, so obviously that kind of factors into it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of good players in this draft, so they
There
should go
are.
defense. This is
Yeah.
like literally lining up perfectly for what
Yeah.
the Eagles need
I,
right now.
I
So
I can't see them not going defense. Big play
yeah,
Slash out there. He says people slightly overrate Ajabo. Obviously, he's raw and very fast defensive end who has talent and makings to be special. But let's not act like Hutchinson wasn't a big factor in his production. Whoa, 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 whoa! I say he's underrated because everybody assumes Hutchinson is increasing his production. A lot of what I watched, they're both one-on-one on the outside, on each side. And he's just as fast. I think that's, to me, why people, maybe he'll drop a little bit, is people will think that. But I
yeah,
don't think that about him at all.
and he's fell a little bit. Like I said, doing all this, looking into all these guys, he's fell quite a bit because at first he was a top 10 guy. Now he's looking in more of that 20 to 25, possibly end of the 1st round range. So he is. I mean,
You
you're right
think
to say
so?
he's underrated.
See, I think he's going to go. I think, and we'll get a combine. I think he's going to go up into. I think he's going to be a
He
top 10
probably will.
pick.
Once, like you said, we'll get into it. But
Yeah,
once these grown men see all these college kids running in gym shorts
right.
and everything, everybody's opinion is going to change.
Yeah,
Trust me, we saw the
and
Senior Bowl.
I love his backstory. He comes from another country. He works hard. I think he's like. I think he's going to be the Eagles' target. I just got this feeling. They had success with Michigan and number 55 there too. Before, so you never know.
Yeah.
Jeffrey says, let me know what you guys think about grabbing Dean and Sauce if they're there at 15 and 16 and getting Johnson at 19. Well, I'll let you answer that one.
I love Nakobe Dean. I'm more of a Devin Lloyd guy myself, if I'm being 100% honest. Love Devin Lloyd. I think he's the best linebacker in the draft. But I don't think there's a huge drop off between the two. I'm really nitpicking when I say I love Devin Lloyd. But there's not a big difference. So if Nakobe Dean is the guy that's there, say Devin Lloyd goes before us, I'm totally cool with that. Sauce Gardner, I think he's very good. I think he's very, very, very good. And I think he'll be a day 1 starter, has very good size, very good speed. I would not, I kind of said that and kind of there's a lot of good cornerbacks in this draft. So it really depends where we're at. Like, if you're telling me Stingley's gone, if you're telling me Kyer Elam's gone, if you're telling me Andrew Booth is gone, then yes, I'll no hesitation take a Sauce Gardner. But realistically, I think Sauce probably won't be there. I'm looking more like a Kyer Elam. I'm looking more like an Andrew Booth, maybe a Trent McDuffie if they're okay with his size. And then who was the last guy? He said Jermaine Johnson. I would love Jermaine Johnson at number 19. I think it's I think that the Senior Bowl gave a lot. It's recency bias. A lot of people are in love with him because of the Senior Bowl. I think that he had 1 year of production. 19 to me is, being nitpicking. If I'm a nitpicker, it is what it is. That's what I do. So I'm just going to put that out right now. 19 is maybe a little too high, maybe, because he is still kind of a project, but I wouldn't be mad at it. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but that's how
I like Johnson. I like the only end I haven't spent time with yet is I haven't looked at Karlaftis, or whatever, however you pronounce him. I have not watched him yet, so I have no opinion. Out of all the guys I like, I just look at Aiden Hutchinson as he's not going to be there. I don't think he'll be there. Thibodeau and Ojabo would be my next two. I like those guys. Prince, thank you for super chat. He says, I feel like they cannot miss players. The cannot miss players are Stingley, Dean, Burks, Hamilton, Lloyd, Karlaftis, Thibodeau, Ajabo, Gardner, Lindenbaum, Walker, and Hutchinson. I mean,
is he saying Trayvon Walker from Georgia? Is Prince saying that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
I love that name. I love that name. That's a great. A lot of people aren't on that train. He's a great player.
He seems like he's been rising lately. You know, we got about 240 people in the chat. If you haven't, please please subscribe. Click the link in the description. Go sub up this man. I'm telling you, he's approaching 4,000 subs. This man does great work, and this is the voice. This is the voice behind the beautiful Philly Shakedown intro. This is the man that did it for us. So go click the link, sub him up, and check if you have been subbed here for a while. Make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube has been unsubscribing people, so make sure you do that. Definitely. Yeah. So we got the combine coming up this week. What are your thoughts? Like anybody specifically that you really want to focus in on?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there. The main three guys I'm really looking at is a guy that we were just talking about, right? Is Jermaine Johnson. I want to see how he kind of tests. I want to see how that affects his draft spot, because I've seen some people have him as high as top 10. Some people have him around the 19 to 22 spot. So I would like to see what happens with him. Devin Lloyd, I want him to go crazy because I want to see where his athleticism is. I think his tape is amazing. So I want to see what he does athletically. I think him and Nakobe Dean are going to be very interesting if they both go. Obviously, it's going to be very interesting to see them kind of where they are with everything. There's a lot of guys on the offensive line. I kind of want to see what happens with them. You know, if a Tyler Lindenbaum can put up a lot of reps, I know a lot of people are going to get way higher on him than they are right now. Same thing with defensive line. I want to see what happens with the George Karlaftis. If he can show that technique and he has athleticism, you know, I think he's going to start rising up people's boards. A lot of these Georgia players, a lot of these Georgia defensive players are guys I'm looking at. And then, yeah, the wide receivers in general. It'll be interesting to see how these 6'3", 6'5" guys actually run. You know, so there's a lot, but, you know, main guys are.
Do you think they would go wide receiver in the first round for 3 straight years?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Really?
I think it depends on how they see free agency playing out, right? Like if they feel like they can fix it in free agency, if they're like, we're going to give a contract to a Mike Williams or an Allen Robinson or a guy like that. But I think that the Eagles, they want a big guy. They want a big guy on the outside. They want to recreate that kind of Alshon Jeffrey-esque feel, right? And Devontae Smith, in all his glory, Devontae Smith is great. He's still only 6 foot and like 180. So that doesn't really fit that bill. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like he said, a Treylon Burks, right? Or a Drake London, I think is his name, right? Yeah, Drake London. I always get him mixed up with Drake Jackson, the defensive end. But yeah, Drake London, if he fell to us, I wouldn't be surprised. If a guy like that falls to you, I think that Howie would shoot himself in the foot. You know what I'm saying? If he passed up on them again and they became good, because then you look at, like he said, DK Metcalf, you look at the guy Justin Jefferson, the guys that you've missed on. So I think it's kind of a mental thing that he wouldn't let himself, pass up.
Yeah, definitely. Prince, thank you for super chat. He says Burks reminds me of Metcalf. Give me next to Smith. Now, I love Burks. Burks is my favorite. Well, I haven't watched a whole bunch of them, but I like Burks because you were talking about the physical big receiver. And I'm all for the big physical receiver as long as he's got speed. I can't have guys that don't have speed on the outside. I don't want J.J. Arcega-Whiteside anymore. I'm done with him. You know, I don't need that slow guy, you know. What's up, Troy Singleton? How are you, man? How's the grandkid? You know, I just can't do it. But Burks runs, they say something like a 4.3. His 40 is going to be very interesting to me. He would be one of the guys that I really want to watch at the combine. You know, along with Ojabu and Thibodeau, I want to see what kind of numbers those guys put up because I have a feeling they're going to have big scouting days big days, and they're gonna shoot up the board. The thing with Lloyd's probably one of my top 3 guys I want.
Yeah, and but not to get too like political or anything, but like they might not even be there. This whole scouting combine,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
I think Lloyd's.
Go down
I think he's gonna be a top 10. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, true. Well, they did change some of the rules. Like they kind of loosened up. So hopefully that'll help. Brandon Jackson, thank you for the super chat. He says, new subscriber here. Saw you on LB's page. Shout out to LB. I got to get him on here and have a talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. But that's
yeah, he loves him.
Thanks for the content. Excited for the offseason. Thank you, man. Thank you. So in my opinion, let's keep the picks, not trade them for over 30 quarterback. Now, I totally get it. I totally get it. If I wasn't such a big fan of Russell Wilson, I would agree with you probably. But I just think he's special. But I hear you, and thank you for super chat. Von de Goat says, what players do you want to stay away from in round 1? That's a really good question. Anybody you don't want in the first round?
That is a really good question.
That's a really good question.
I don't want any quarterbacks. I think we can all say that, right? And not necessarily because of their talent, just not the year. Don't piss me off. In the first round, that's a really good question.
I would say I can tell you by position. Like I wouldn't want a quarterback in the first round. I don't want tight ends in the first round.
Or running back,
or running back in the first round. But offensive line, defensive backs, whether it's safety or corner, linebackers, offensive line, I'm all for it because I really think they got to upgrade the interior of their offensive line again. You have to fill that right guard position, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have to start bulking up the lines again. We're in a position, and I hate to use their names, right? But you look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are now, they kind of stopped looking at their offensive line for a couple years, and now they're in a position that they don't really know who's going to play what on that interior of their offensive line. So we don't want to be stuck in that position. I think we're in a good spot when it comes to the guys that we have, even when Lane Johnson moves on, even when Jason Kelsey moves on. I've been saying on my channel that I probably don't think we should go offensive line in the first round because I think there's good guys that you can get and put them with the best offensive line coach in the game, right? I think we can all agree there. And they'll grow. So I don't think that it's something you have to reach for, but you're not going to have to do much convincing to say, yeah, we took Tyler Linderbaum or we took, Kenyon Johnson or Zion Johnson, excuse me, or Kenyon Green. So like, there's not too much you got to do to, make me believe that they're going to be good guys. So I'm cool with that, but I don't think you have to, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. Jeffrey says, I throw those draft ideas out because it covers our needs. I personally would rather double down on end and get a middle linebacker because we can get some in free agency. Well, I think free agency, I expect them to get a defensive end in free agency. We haven't even talked about free agency, and we should, because a lot of what you do in free agency has a direct result on what you're going to do in the draft. Is there anybody you would like in free agency specifically?
I think that's where you attack the wide receiver position.
Yeah,
I think that's where you attack the safety position. Beyond that, I would probably stay kind of quiet. I know a lot of people like Hassan Reddick, but Hassan Reddick doesn't give you much outside of pass rush. And pass rush is very important, don't get me wrong, but it's all he really does right now. I'm not saying he can't, pass. I just haven't really seen him have to do that. So on a consistent basis, I'll say. So I don't really know if throwing a big bag at him is what you need to do. If I'm going to overspend a little bit, it's going to probably be on a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1, and then my starting safety. We don't know what we're doing at that safety spot. A Marcus Williams, a Jesse Bates. There's a lot of good.
I think I know who they're getting.
Houston. Who do you think?
I think they're going to land Jabril Peppers. I've heard rumors and I've heard things that they want him. That's what I've heard. So we'll see.
That would be interesting because
I think he's cheap, right?
Yeah.
Well, I like Kyle Hamilton. I haven't watched the other safeties yet.
I don't even count him. He's not. He's not dropping to us.
But I've heard some things, like some rumblings that people are like, Jabril Peppers, they got their eye on Jabril Peppers. He's going to probably be cheap coming off injury. He's still kind of young, and he can do multiple things, you know?
That would be interesting. He
So
can.
keep
That's
your eye
true.
out.
I would say this because all right. So safeties in this draft, I think that like you said, Kyle Hamilton. I don't even count him to be real because it's like I just don't feel like that's realistic for the Eagles. But you look at Jaquan Brisker, you look at a Jalen Petrie. There's one other guy that his name is eluding me right now, and I'm sorry that I'm forgetting his name. But either way, there's probably 3 guys that might drop to you in that second round that could probably be day one starters. If I'm the Eagles, I take the risk of getting one guy in the free agency. I really like Jesse Bates. I like the guy from Houston as well. I can't remember his name either.
Right.
There's a couple guys out there that aren't bad, that aren't too bad. And even free agency, I think, might be a little bit cheaper than we're used to. A lot of these guys, once those top names come off, there's still a lot of talent. So these guys are going to be fighting for contracts just as much as we're going to be fighting to get them. So it'll be interesting, I think. But the free agency, I'm looking at straight just offense and the safety. You know what I'm saying? Everything else, I think you can stock up in this draft.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Backyard Bird Podcast. Thank you for Super Chase. It's up 500. And Joe, all Philly fans love playing GM. Oh yeah, you gotta love it, especially when you get it right more than the GM that's really the GM. I mean, I bet Joe Castro here has a better draft record percentage than Howie Rose. But come on,
I called a lot last year. I was the only. Well, I was like one of the only people, because remember we did that mock draft together. I had all the Eagles content creators, and I told everybody, I was like, I want Micah Parsons. I don't care. I want Micah Parsons. And look at Micah Parsons. But I hate to say it. But
if the Eagles knew, I believe if the Eagles evaluated him correctly and knew he could rush the passer, they would have took him. But they squarely were looking him as a linebacker, which we know they don't value.
Yeah, and it brings up an interesting thing because Brandon Smith is another, and Daxton Hill was the guy that I was thinking about. Shout out to whoever put it in the chat. I forget, I can't remember the name, but either way, Brandon Smith is an interesting name from Penn State because he's obviously not Micah Parsons, but he's a guy that's slated to go around the 3rd round. He's another guy that might run in those 4.3s, Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles double down or if he's the only linebacker they take, because he has some speed on him and he's more of a pass coverage guy than Micah Parsons was coming out of college. So they might value him a little bit more than a lot of scouts are saying. So he's an interesting name if they felt like they missed out on a Micah Parsons. But
you realize they haven't taken a linebacker in the 1st round since 1979. That is unfathomable. With all the coach adding Reeds and Jim Johnson, your defense, not to take a linebacker, like it's crazy to me. It really is. Jacob
and we
Davies
still had
asked,
some good linebackers, which is crazy.
And we did. We drafted some really good ones. Jacob Davies says, "What are your thoughts on defensive tackle we signed? That's Renell Wren. Is the guy we signed. My thoughts were that he's just a guy that's going to try to make the team a camp body. But I think the one thing I take out of it is I think the Eagles are already honing in on rebuilding that defensive line, because I think that's going to be their key this offseason. That's what I said.
Perfect. Yeah, you said it perfect, because that's what we got to do.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. I think I've been thinking a lot about Hassan Reddick, and you remember when Gannon was hired last year, he talked about he wants a hybrid 4-3-3-4 type defense, right? I think Reddick fits more of a 3-4 as a 3-4 outside linebacker, pass rusher. Now, if he wanted to really have an interchangeable 4-3-3-4 defense, Hassan Reddick's the perfect guy to go get. He's the perfect guy because you could then use him in those downs, Again,
it comes down to price. Free agency scares me because everybody gets paid more than they're probably worth. That's kind of how it always works. So I see him as one of those top tier guys at the edge rushing or linebacking position, really depends on how you look at him, obviously. But I think he's one of those top guys because of that versatility. But he is an edge rusher in theory and in application, right? Like it doesn't really matter if his hands are out of the ground. He's going to be going after the quarterback 8 out of 10 times. So I don't know if I'm willing to pay for that. Like, I just don't know if we should pay. There's so many guys in this draft. You know what I'm saying? There's so many guys in this draft that you can plug and play at that position. Even if you get a linebacker, if that's what you're looking for, go hard after Nakobe Dean.
Yeah.
If that's what you want, go after Nakobe Dean because then he'll give you that. And I love Devin Lloyd. Yeah. But, if that's more of what you're looking for, then go for that because that's the guy that I'm looking for.
I'll tell you in free agency who I probably would target because I'm just assuming Hassan Reddick's going to get some ridiculous price somewhere. And he's going to probably go to a 3-4 base defense. But I think Emmanuel Ogbah, the Miami Dolphins defensive end, he had 2 straight years of 9 sacks. He, is probably not going to get as big of a pay as some of the other people. But I think he's still just entering his prime. I think he's a guy that can come in and get you 11 sacks in a year. I don't think that's too much to ask for him. You know what I mean?
We always get some type of veteran, right? Like, so we always get that one random vet. So it really depends on where he drops. If he's still there day 4, day 5 of free agency, I could see us kicking the can. But I just don't want to spend too much money. I would love to. I really just feel like you can build so much through this draft. Like really just fill the holes, and I think the main holes that you need a starter at, right? Because we could run it back and probably still be a 9-18 or maybe a 10-17. Like we could probably do that. But if you add the right young pieces to this, I don't know. I could see like a week 3, week 4 type of trade that puts you a little bit over the top, even if it's for a quarterback. If Houston holds out for a while, you know what I'm saying? Like, or if Jalen takes that next step and now you just have a very young core. I'd rather take that chance. I'd rather take that chance right now and save some of that money.
Yeah. Mr. International says 500. I think the Eagles are about to have a super roster by the time the Eagles have their 53-man roster. By game 1 next year, crazy moves we're not even thinking of are coming. Yeah, well, listen, Howie's got 3 first-round picks. He's got some money, and he's only got 1 year left on his contract. Does he feel the need to dramatically improve this roster to save his job? I think Howie Roseman's got big things planned. I listened to his press conference. He was too quiet to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I don't think too much is going to happen. I hope.
Really, you don't think so? I think it's going to be crazy.
I think draft time, we're probably going to trade back once. I think we're probably going to take 19 and move back. I think that's about it. I don't think too much is going to happen. I think we're going to try to get back in the second round and get a first-round pick next year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, the draft. I think they're going to trade up. I think they're going to trade back. I think they'll do those things, but I think free agencies. I think trade wise. I think it could be kind of crazy. Now I saw. Where did I see a I was looking for. I saw something flash on the chat. Something about DK Metcalf, and I want to talk about DK Metcalf. So I don't know who said it. There was somebody put that. The Bills are trying to acquire DK Metcalf for a first-round pick. I don't know if that's true or not, but DK Metcalf, to me, is the one veteran player out there, the one veteran wide receiver that I'm willing to part with a first-round pick today, right now, right this second. What are your thoughts on Mr. DK Metcalf?
I think he's a great player. I just think. I think that if it happened, I'll say this. If it happened, if I heard tomorrow that we gave up the 19th pick for DK Metcalf, I'm not going to be mad. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be, excited to see what happens. But my thought process is, all right, now we got to pay him. Now we have one less first round. What else went into that draft, into that trade? So it does worry me a little bit to pay that because he's going to want a long-term contract. What happened in Seattle? Are they just literally trying to get rid of everybody and restart? That's different, but did something happen? There's going to be a lot of questions to that because that's a big That's a big investment, in my opinion, giving up your first round pick. That's a big investment to say, I'm going to pay this guy moving forward. He's got to be a franchise guy for you. The Bills can get away with that because they're going to be late in the first round in their eyes, no matter what. They're going to be going for a Super Bowl every year with Josh Allen. So you add another weapon, they think that that's going to, catapult them. Do I think adding a DK Metcalf catapults Jalen Hurts to a Super Bowl, caliber quarterback? I don't think so. I really don't know.
But do you think anybody makes him that? Is there anybody that makes
no, not at the wide receiving position? I think that what would help Jalen Hurts is having a dominant defense, is having a defense that it doesn't matter that you went 3 and out 3 times in a row, because that's what Jalen Hurts is going to do. Jalen Hurts just can't. I don't want to say can't. Jalen Hurts is not the type of guy that's going to methodically get you down the field. That's just not what his game is, unless it's a running game. You know what I'm saying? So you need a defense that's going to go out there and get you the ball back quick, get you some short fields. That's what I think would help Jalen Hurts. I don't necessarily think a wide receiver is going to come in here and make him a top 15, top 10 quarterback.
No, but does it make the evaluation process of Jalen Hurts better or easier?
I think that this year was a very good evaluating period. I think that he was given I don't want to say a lot, but he was given enough to be evaluated. I really do. I mean, we got to realize first round picks, those first overall quarterbacks go to horrible teams, and they're evaluated with horrible teams. Jalen Hurts came to a team that was better than what their record was. We had a very good tight end duo. We have a very good offensive line. We had a historically good running game, and I know that he added to that. But we had a Devontae Smith who played above his rank. We had a Quez Watkins who I think that was criminally underused. So I tend to think that he was given enough to be evaluated this year. So I think that we kind of saw what he is. Again, like I said, he could take a big step this offseason. And I'm not, saying that he can't do that. But to say that we need to get a DK Metcalf to evaluate him, I think that's undervaluing what Devontae Smith brought to this team. I think that's undervaluing what a Dallas Goedert, although he had 4 drops this year and they all came at the worst times possible. That devalues what he brought to this team and devalues what this offensive running game was. So I think he had enough.
Devalues what Rhaegar brought to the team.
Rhaegar was
nothing.
I didn't even say his name. Man. I didn't say J. Jaw. I didn't say his name.
It's regular.
And there were times that we force fed him, which made no sense. So, I mean, there's questions, obviously, that with what happened in the season. But, I mean, we saw what Jalen Hurts did. Like, there were times that we were sitting here like, why is this man dropping balls? Why is this happening? But there were a lot of times that we were like, why did you throw that? Or, how come you don't have the arm to make it that far? And it's not hating. It's just being realistic and understanding the difference between the two.
So you feel you kind of feel in your gut that we are seeing Hurts' ceiling.
As a thrower, possibly, yes.
As a thrower.
Pure passer, possibly. If I like what Nick Sirianni did as far as the offense went. A lot of times, if you really look back at that season, his play design was really good. It's about Jalen Hurts finding that guy. So can you, the question that I'll throw back at you, do you believe a quarterback can work on game time decision-making in an offseason? Do you think that you can make a realistic jump in an offseason doing that?
Yeah, I think you can. I think mechanics, I think accuracy, I think having the defense and things slow down, I think that can happen. I think where you can't get better is that arm strength. Your arm is what it is. So if the guys that haven't had big arms in the NFL that have been good were always deadly accurate.
Yeah.
And they were very good at reading defenses. And that, to me, I still think is possible. And that's probably what he's going to get a year as. Cryptologist, he is not for Jalen Hurts at all. He's ready to move on. He says 500. Didn't Tebow need a great defense? Hurts is Tebow. I think Hurts is better than Tebow. Okay? I mean, come on, man. You're killing me over here. Tebow didn't know what the hell was going on. Tebow had guts and all that, but nah. You know what I mean?
And I will say Hurts is accurate. Like Hurts knows. I don't think the problem necessarily is Hurts getting the ball there. He knows, like, when he looks at something and says, "I'm going to throw the ball here," he can do that. He can do that with just about any quarterback out there. That's why he's in the NFL. I think the main problem with Jalen Hurts is reading where the ball has to go. So the problem is him saying I can get it there is saying where it needs to go. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So I really just feel like if he makes that jump, he could be scary. But we are where we are, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
So he hasn't made that jump. So now what do we do, right? Does the organization have patience to wait through his development?
That's
and
the
what
question.
If it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
And what if
that's
it doesn't happen?
The question.
Like you said earlier.
I mean, that's the question. I know how he said his press conference that he's a starter, but everything you hear about he's already sent private eyes to go check on Deshaun Watson. He's trying to see what's going on. Russell Wilson. He's following Malik Willis all around the Senior Bowl everywhere he goes. He's out there scouting Pickett. Everything by their actions tells you that maybe they don't believe in Hurts. If we're being straight up honest, right? So yeah. I don't know what that means. I just don't know that there are really any options right now for them. You know what I mean? I don't. Now, here's a question. Cyclone puts this out. I'm going to ask you. He says, let Minshew compete with Hurts. Would you have an open quarterback competition with Minshew going into training camp?
If they believed in him, his stats are pretty good. His numbers are good. He was on a bad team. Do I think that Gardner Minshew is a franchise guy? Possibly not. Probably not.
I don't.
He doesn't have the arm strength either. If we're being very candid, but he can read the field very well. He can read the field very well. He's a very safe quarterback. He's not a guy that's gonna go out there and give up a million. He's kind of like a Tyrod Taylor. If we're being 100, like he's a little bit mobile. He's very safe quarterback. I think that's probably a safe comparison for him. So do I think that's a franchise guy? Not necessarily. If we're going to say let's give him some competition, let's give him some damn competition. Save one of those first-round picks, take number 19, and go get your quarterback. If you really want to say let's go give him some competition, let's do it with somebody that is going to be cheap. You know what I'm saying? Because if Hurts loses that competition, then you probably still have a little bit of draft capital that you can get out of somebody, draft value that you can get out of somebody as far as a trade goes. And if he wins that battle, then you got a guy that's in a first round pick that maybe you develop into something, or you just move on from. That's a way cheaper risk than going out there and getting somebody like I don't know, saying let's just go all in and see if Gardner Minshew has it and use all these picks, and next year we'll have one pick and hope for the best. I don't know. I think that's way less of a risk. Just going ahead and getting yourself a quarterback.
Yeah. Just Blaze says need a top tier quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a top-tier quarterback. Otherwise, the 49ers wouldn't be trying to get rid of him. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is so overrated. It's not even funny. I'm not a fan. Eagle fan number 11 says, Philly 500, ask Philly the podcast if he likes Carson Wentz and ask what he thinks happened with him.
Do I like him or liked? Like, if I liked him when he was on the Eagles. I did not like how he curled up and died on us. I didn't like that. I definitely don't, and I don't like him now. Number 11 is not, he's not part of my memory bank as far as Eagles history goes. But what do I think happened? I honestly think that the same thing that happened in Indianapolis. Things got a little bit crazy for him, and he couldn't really respond. I think that 2017 injury was way bigger than any of us really gave it maybe credit for. Maybe he was a little bit banged up, a little bit more than we gave it credit for. So I think that everything, put together, he just couldn't handle the situation. I think he kind of acted like a punk, but it is what it is. Everybody deals with how they deal with, but I don't like him now, if that's the question. I definitely don't like him now.
Yeah, it's very odd what happened to him. Indy's done with him in a year. In a year, they're like, they want him gone.
I saw this happening though. I saw this happen. I said this last year. I said this last year. I was like, listen, and people were roasting me for it. I was like, listen, with that type of mentality, if they do not go further than they did the previous year, which obviously they didn't even make the playoffs, but if they didn't go further than what they did last year, he's not going to be there beyond that year because you just like I feel like Frank Reich just put his neck out on the line to bring you on this team, especially at the price tag, and that's what he got. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else was giving us what the Colts were giving us. No matter how much people want to think he was getting 2 first-round picks for, we weren't doing that. So I mean, he put his neck out on the line, and we saw what happened.
That was Frank Reich. That was his guy. I mean, and they're done with him, dude. Adrian Jones says Jimmy is better than Jalen Hurts, and you're crazy if you think different. Here's my response to that. What does that mean? To me, what does that mean? He's better. That he's not good enough to win a Super Bowl. He's not good enough to win. So why do I even want him? If how much better is Jimmy G really than Jalen Hurts? Maybe he's a better passer. Okay, but he's not so much better that he's going to win me Super Bowls and I need to get him. I don't need to be. See, one of the things people don't talk about, and I keep bringing up, is called football purgatory. And that is where you become a team that's always in the middle of the road, and you're never good enough to get up and get franchise-changing players, and you're never bad enough, or you're never bad enough to get franchise-changing players, but you're never good enough to win the Super Bowl. So you get in this situation where you're always stuck, and that's a very bad place to be. Teams can be there for 25 years. Jimmy G is that kind of guy. That's what he would put the Eagles in my opinion. That's what they have to be careful of with Hurts. Okay, that's why you have to just not go spend all your picks. You have to have insurance because you have to figure out the quarterback situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, even if we gave room, right, and we were like, yes, he's better. My question would become: is he $20-something million better? Is he a second round, maybe third, if we're lucky, round better than Jalen Hurts? Like, are you willing to give up those assets plus, giving up on Jalen Hurts just to say that Jimmy G might get us to the divisional round, right? Like, so I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Jimmy G and we've seen his ceiling. I'd rather stick with Hurts because once you sign Jimmy G or you get him, you're probably going to be in NFL purgatory for a while, in my opinion. Jay Quest says, I have to keep signing on and off to this live stream because Kyler Murray and Josh Allen's second year was explosive because Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins. And listen, they both have huge arms, though. Kyler Murray has a big arm. Josh Allen has a big arm. But I do agree. I mean, I think the Eagles have to upgrade the passing, the receivers. I like Devontae Smith. I don't feel that they used him right. I don't think they used them enough, and I think they gave too much attention to Regular, in my opinion. Are there any receivers that you would like in free agency?
I would love Godwin. If he even hits free agency. Mike Williams wouldn't make me mad. I would love Mike Williams. I would really have to look deeper into the.
I'm gonna blow your mind right now. You ready? I'm going to tell you who I want. Christian Kirk.
Oh, that's it. That's a great.
I want a slot receiver. I don't want to give up on Quez Watkins. I mean, he had a pretty good second year, and they didn't even use him. I don't think they used Smith and him right. I think like a Christian Kirk, if I could get him and then put him in a slot, I think we would dramatically improve this team. But people think I'm crazy when I say him. But I'm dead serious. I wouldn't mind
Christian Kirk at all. I wouldn't mind Christian. He's young. He's still very young. He's like, 25. What, 26, 27, 25? Yeah, so he's still very young. And that's the crazy thing about this year's free agency. There's going to be a lot of guys that are coming off their first contract still, which is kind of weird. You usually don't see that. You usually see them around their second contract, 28, maybe 27 if you get lucky. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I like them. New Zealand Philly fan, thank you for super chat. He says the overall evaluation is we need Watson and Wilson. I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
We need to be smart.
FU says, I hate when you feed us bullshit. Why can't you give me some info on what's likely to happen? I already know what's going to happen. But we both know what's going to happen. We already know. You don't think? I mean, I look like Denzel Washington. You don't think people tell me things?
Hey,
Okay,
he's connected.
we know what's going to happen, but we have to give you it in hints. We can't
We're trying
tell
to.
you everything. We're
We can't
trying to
dumb it
hint.
down anymore. We can't dumb it down anymore. Those that know. That's really how
Right.
it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. We're giving you hints. RDX says, I'm tired of Watson. I'm tired of the Watson thing too. I just wish the off the field stuff would settle so we can figure out where he's going to go. Would you go after him if he was clean of everything, all the off the field stuff?
It depends on the. I'm gonna. Yeah, you're gonna hear me say this a lot. It depends on the price. Probably though. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be mad. I just don't think that this team is like. I don't think Hurts was the biggest problem. I think you can win, and this is not like trying to put a knock on Hurts, but you can win in spite of Hurts. Even if he's not having a great game, you can go out there and win games if you just get a good defense. Get a defense that's turnover. That's going to get you turnovers. That's going to get you 3 and outs. An explosive type of defense. We haven't had that in so long. So I don't know. I don't like her. I'm not, and I sound like I love Hurts on this. I'm not like the biggest Hurts supporter when it comes to like being our quarterback. I do think even last year I said that we should go get Justin Fields, maybe a Trey Lance. And if we got a quarterback that gave him some competition this year, I would actually like that. I would welcome that. It's just got to be smart. It's just, for me, it's just got to make sense. I don't want to give everything up just to say that we fixed the quarterback position. While it is a very, very important position, it's not everything. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like your cornerback still can't cover really that much outside of Darius Slay. Your safeties, you might not have come this offseason. Your linebacking core was not really a linebacking core outside of maybe Davion Taylor, maybe flashes of Sean Bradley. TJ Edwards did well, but so did Alex Singleton last year, and Alex Singleton fell off a cliff this year. So there's so many holes. I really just don't want to give up too much.
No, I hear you. There are a lot of holes. Yeah. There are a lot of holes. I mean, I don't want to give up 3 first rounds. I think that's where I draw the line. I would do 2 only because I'll still have another first. We got over 300 people in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't, click the link. Go support my man Joe Castro, the Philly podcast, the beautiful voice of the Philly Shakedown podcast intro. So shout out to him, and definitely sub him up. No question about it. I appreciate him coming on because this was short notice. I was like, you know what? I'm going to stream day. And I was like, I should reach out to him because I wanted to get him on for a while now. So I appreciate you coming on with such short notice.
You already know, man. It's my pleasure. Anytime I can talk about the birds, I'm down, man. And you caught me on a Sunday, so I don't got no life on Sunday.
Ramon says, 500, we need a elite quarterback to get past the divisional round. Let Hurts sit behind Wilson in a learning curve. That would create. Would Hurts even want to do that at this point? He's played a whole full season.
If you could tell me that, if you could tell me that, Russell, I said this like early on in the offseason that I wouldn't even really be that mad if something like that happened. That if you said to Hurts, like, you're not there yet, but we believe in you. You're 23. We're going to give you 2 years to sit behind Russell Wilson. By the time he's 25, he could be deadly.
Could be dead.
And then you still got 10 plus years for him. And now you just have 2 years of Russell Wilson.
I would not be opposed to that at all. The question
is, again, don't get me wrong, it's still price. I'm not giving up 3 first rounds just so we could keep Jalen Hurts.
2 first rounds.
Yeah.
2 first rounds.
I'll
give up 2 first rounds. I'll give you 2 first rounds, regular, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and a 3rd round pick. Take it. That's it. Sugar Daddy Williams says, Philly is my guy. He's actually rational. See that?
Appreciate that. Yeah. That's a Dallas fan. I think that's my boy, Big Game James people. So shout out to him. That's what's up.
As good as Watson is, can you explain why he's 4-12? Not solely his fault. I get it, but the quarterback should be able to win a certain number of games. I will say this. I don't think there's been a quarterback, especially his level, that has had such a horrible offensive line that he's played. He has always got the worst line. And a lot of people feel like if you would give this guy an offensive line, he would tear the league up. The problem with Deshaun Watson is the off the field stuff. That stuff, you can't bring a guy in with that kind of stuff going on. You know that they said that Houston is still asking for 3 first-round picks, and they're hoping to have a trade in place before free agency starts. How do they expect that to happen?
Yeah, look, I like Watson. Don't get me wrong, but I think adding him to this team definitely improves his number. But if you look, I'll tell you what happened in Texas, in Houston, in 2 words: Bill O'Brien. That's what happened in Houston.
Oh God, yeah.
Absolute idiot. The stuff that he did was just ridiculous. So if you want to look for somebody to really point to why they were so bad on the field, probably off the field in a rare case. Usually I say players play, coaches coach, and they do their thing. But Bill O'Brien was a cancer in that locker room. It was terrible.
Yeah. I just says, are you saying that 500 is not rational? I'm very rational. I'm just very stubborn. If I think I'm right, I will fight you to the end on it. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Let's see. Peyton Manning's Colts weren't good at first year too. Football is still it is a team game. No question about it. Listen, the most likely scenario is the Eagles are going to keep Hurts. They're going to probably, I do think they will trade one of those first round picks for a first round pick next year. They're going to make sure that they have insurance. And I think they're going to keep him. And I think that they're going to see what he does this year. I don't know if he's the guy. To me, he's got to become a better passer. Let me tell you one other reason why I think he's got to become a better passer. And I think all quarterbacks have this issue. When you start early in your career and you run a lot, you get banged up, you get hurt. He's already had ankle surgery this offseason. That's why you see quarterbacks, think of all the good quarterbacks that ran. Steve Young, Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick. As they got older, they all became better passers. And you have to kind of, have a shelf life in the NFL. So he has to become a better passer. I don't know if he can or not. I really don't know. I know my man Bird Gang here, he thinks he's going to be MVP.
He got to go 17-0 already next year.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to be MVP. And I hope he's right. That would be the best case scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like Jalen Hurts. I think that all his intangibles are there. No. It comes down to are you willing to build your whole offense around him? And if you are, this is going to be a fun offense to watch. I'll tell you that much. It's going to be a very interesting.
I don't know if they're that committed to him yet, though. That's the problem.
That's the whole thing.
That's what we don't know.
Offense, he's just probably not your guy right now.
Yep. 500. You're stubborn to the point of irrationality. Maybe. But
I think we all are a little bit.
I look. I am definitely not a perfect person. And the thing is, if you can convince me I'm wrong, I'll say, all right, you're right. But if I believe I'm right, I'm a stubborn son of a bitch. I am. And if it's irrational, it's fine. And actually, I think I've been pretty rational with Jalen Hurts. I didn't give him any crap when people were calling for him to be benched. I was like, no, you got to play him, and I'm saying he earned another year. I think he earned next year. I just think that a guy like Russell Wilson's just too hard to come by, that if you have the opportunity, you have to take it. That's how I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think upgrading talent is never a bad thing. Unfortunately, like I said, we all love what's his name? We all love Jalen Hurts, right? We all love that he's a great team leader, great guy, and everything. Mm-hmm. But if you can upgrade that position, especially for the long term, look, if the Eagles, let's not to get too much into the history, but if you look at the Eagles' selections at the quarterback position in the first round, they have not been wrong that many times, if ever.
Right.
So I trust, especially this new regime. Donovan McNabb was a home run, in my opinion, at that pick. So listen, man. If they look at Malik Willis and say he's Jalen Hurts but has a rocket ass arm, let's go ahead and develop him instead. I'm not going to be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? We got to be real and honest to that. Some of these guys do have things that they can hold their hat on that Jalen Hurts doesn't. if you decide to move forward with Jalen Hurts, it is a decision. It's not a we had no choice. He just blew us out the water. It's a decision to change your offense and your team to build around what his strengths are. Otherwise, you're trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, and we're going to be sitting here every offseason mad that we are not taking that next step. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I said, you're totally irrational with Carson Wentz. I mean, look, I saw what Carson Wentz did in 2017. I looked at it and I thought, man, why can't the guy do it again? Maybe I was irrational. Yeah, maybe I'm guilty of that. I'm not going to fight that. You know,
I will be lie. I thought there was while I publicly I don't want to say bashed. I talked a lot of junk about Carson Wentz because I didn't like the man he became. There was a part of me that was like, I really hope I don't have to sit here and watch this man go crazy in Indianapolis because they have a good team. Like everything was lined up for him to go and have a good comeback season. So
I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to. I mean, look, yeah. I mean, Carson Wentz started to where I kind of started part ways with Carson was last year when he wanted to trade. Because that kind of aggravated me. I felt like I felt like it showed character flaw because I felt like he was like he needed to come back and be like, this is my team, open competition between him and Hurts, and I'm going to win. And I didn't get that out of him. That's when I started to veer off from Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
you know,
that's fair.
You know, and as far as like the Hurts draft. I stand by whatever I said in that draft. I thought it was a stupid pick, not because of Hurts. It had nothing to do with Jalen Hurts. It had to do with the Eagles drafting a backup quarterback in the second round when you can literally still, get starters out there. There were still guys that could have started. If the Eagles said, we don't believe in Carson Wentz and we're drafted Jalen Hurts, I would have been like, fine, no problem. But they go, oh, no, we're drafting him as a backup. Well, I think that was stupid.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, hindsight is 2020. It really is. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. We can sit here and say whatever we want that we said 10 years ago. We didn't know what was going to happen over those 10 years. So it is what it is. Like, hindsight is 2020.
Wentz has to have more than just Brandon. It has to be. He says Wentz can play. His turnover issues are has to be more than that because the Colts want to get rid of him. It's not all right, we had 1 year, we're going to work. They want to get rid of him. It's a personality thing that if you're not in that locker room, you don't know. There's got to be something.
They're even eating money. They're even eating money. So it's not like it's just a clean cut. They're saving money here and then. Oh, they're eating money. So they, like you said, they want to get rid of him. It's not well, we can move on and figure something else out. But
I love weed. He says great. Wait, how you doing? I love weed. How's the weed, buddy?
I like that name.
Yeah, it's a great name. But let me ask you this because we're gonna get ready to close up another 5 minutes. Maybe can you do another 5 minutes? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm here for you, brother.
So I want to know what guys do you think could be on the trading block this year for the Eagles? This offseason. Any names to watch out for in your opinion?
I would definitely say I wouldn't be this. While I like Andre Dillard, I think that he gives us depth, and I know a lot of people are ready to just ship him off, and they'll probably drive him to his new destination at this point. I like Andre Dillard. I think that he's somebody that can definitely give us some value. An interesting name that I don't think people realize is a Nate Herbig. Now, obviously, he's a restricted free agent, so I'm not saying he's going to get traded, but we might put a actual tender on him. I'm not sure what we would be able to do because he was, I believe, an undrafted free agent, so I don't know how much we would be able to get back. Maybe like the highest is like a third or something like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like offered us something for him because he's a good player. He's played a lot of different positions, and outside of Philly, this might come as a shock to a lot of people, but they don't have – a lot of teams don't have 5 starting offensive linemen that they can go to. Right. We got probably like 6 or 7, which is a blessing. So realistically, he might be somebody that the Eagles say, well, we might be able to get something out of him. That's just a name that I know a lot of people aren't talking about. But yeah, Andre Dillard, I wouldn't be surprised with. Trying to think who else. I would love to see Rager gone. I just don't know if he has value.
No
I
value.
wouldn't be surprised to see some of these defensive linemen talk to. That's really it, though. A lot of these guys, they don't really got value in my eyes. Maybe a Minshew. I think that's a good name to pull up as well. But a lot of these guys don't really have value. You know what I'm saying? So those are kind of my three guys that I'm looking at and being like, I can see.
Do you think they would trade Miles?
It is his last year of his contract. That's an interesting one. What is his value, right? A former second-round pick. Do you think you could get a second for him? Do you think you get a third?
No, not a running back. Not that position. That position. Yeah, maybe
that becomes a limbo. Like, how low value-wise are you willing?
I think value-wise, you're better off keeping him, letting him play under last year of his contract, and then going from there. I think, to me, I think Dillard's probably one of the best pieces that you possibly could trade. I think regular would have to be a situation like if the Eagles were to go trade for Calvin Ridley and it was like a second and Rager, and he was, because the one thing with regular is a lot of people think he needs a change of scenery, that he just can't function in Philly, so I
never understood that. I know Philly's tough, don't get me wrong, the media aspect of it is tough, but like, you want to move to New York? Like, I've seen some of their headlines. Their newspapers are ruthless. Like, I've seen, LA. Like, you really want to move out there where nobody comes to your games? Like, I've never understood how it's so tough to play in certain cities. Like, bro, get over it. Like, you've never been on the spotlight or in the spotlight. Like, you were that dude at TCU, and Texas takes their football very serious. And you were on a terrible team. You know what I'm saying? At that. So it's like, I just don't get it. Like, you've never dealt with scrutiny throughout your whole life. So I don't know. If that's what it comes down to and he wants to go somewhere else, then by all means, hey, you want to give us a 5th or 6th round pick? I'll take it at this point if I'm being real. Or give us a prospect, right? Like, go to Arizona Cardinals, and there's a guy that I've loved for a while. Dennis Gardeck, I think is his name. He's like 6 foot, but he's an amazing pass rusher. I would go ahead. Give me I'll give you regular. Give us Dennis Gardeck. We'll see what we can do with him. He's like 28. We'll see what we can do with him. See if we can make him into a real situational player, because I'm good on Rager. I don't need much.
Yeah, I don't want to see any more regular. I'm done with him, dude. I'm totally done with him. But he's not worth anything. You're not going to get any value for him. I think Dillard. I think Dillard will give you value because he did play decent when he played. And that's that's a position. So I think that's where you're going to get value. And it's going to be interesting. No question about it. But man, let me thank Philly the podcast, Joe Castro, for coming on. If you guys haven't, click the link in the description. Go sub them up. Make sure you sub them up. Get them to 4K. I appreciate you guys being here. Anything you want to say on the way out, man?
Nah, man, you said it perfectly. Yeah, definitely go subscribe. Go check me out. Follow me on Twitter at PhillyTP. I'll be talking that junk. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. We'll do this again. I'll get you on the channel.
Oh, of course.
We did it last time. We were supposed to have Joey. Actually, that's what I want to say. Joey, I see you out there. You know what I'm saying? You were supposed to come on the channel. I'm very hurt. So we're gonna have to
You should see what he did to me yesterday.
What he did to me. I can believe it now. I didn't know he was so mean.
Episode 55 of the Philly Shakedown podcast. He decides to do a Michael Anthony Where's the Fitness routine and take a nap. So I had to do like the first 35 minutes. He was asleep. He wasn't answering my texts or anything. It's the Where Joey Shakes podcast. It's the Where's Joey episode. Yeah, you believe that? Thank you. It's crazy.
Come on,
crazy. But yeah, Joey Shakes. Shaking in his sleep. But anyways, no, Joey's cool. It's cool. But thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you for all the likes, the subscribe, the super chats. We appreciate it. And with that said, we're gonna let you guys go. And of course, we're gonna let Mark Holmes' son, Michael Anthony Where's the Fitness, take us out. Peace.
Now time for one more play. We had one.
Yo, you gotta be motherfucking kidding me.
You gotta be kidding me. We have no time for one more play.
Look at this motherfucker running from
a.
To get off the field on 3rd down.
What was that bullshit?
That is not right.
Tell him more. He's gotta be better, man. He wasn't. Oh, that's some bullshit. What was that? We had enough time for one more
We
play.
had an opportunity to win that game at the end.
But the referee screwed us.
Away, but, you know, this is just
The brother screwed us.
I'm upset, but
The brother screwed
it is what it
us.
is, man.
At least they fought back and tried.
Only Cowboys games.
Yeah, you literally.
The brother screwed us. The brother screwed us.
It's going to end the way
We had one bad opportunity for one more play.
There, and I'll be able to use the original structure right there. Now that'll take, whoa, and that's where we have to be careful.